Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines with Living the One Light. Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about the new moon coming up on November 20th at 28 degrees of Scorpio. And this is a very beautiful new moon. Very, very, very powerful. Um, and so, yeah, there are various angles I want to touch on. Um, And yeah, okay. So let me first show you the chart. And also I may be making a second video to talk about this new moon with Patrick, because if you haven't seen it, he and I had a conversation about Scorpio in general earlier this a couple weeks ago. And then many of you attended a free Scorpio kind of retreat that he held. Yeah, and he has a very scorpionic chart himself. And anyway, so we may be doing that later today. So there might be a part two to this because he has some really beautiful perspectives on this new moon too. So, but okay, here are the basics. So this is the moon and the sun, 28 degrees, 11 minutes of Scorpio, exactly conjunct Mercury going retrograde. So I'm recording this on Saturday, November 8th, 2025. And Mercury is going retrograde tomorrow, November 9th. And at the exact day of this new moon is basically the halfway point of the Mercury retrograde, when essentially what happens for in a Mercury retrograde, what that means is that Mercury is coming around the sun. It doesn't actually go backward, right? It's coming around the sun, but it comes into the part of its orbit around the sun where it's starting to go between the Earth and the sun. So from the perspective of the Earth, it looks in our sky like Mercury is going quote unquote backward. Right, but the cazimi of Mercury and the sun, which the cazimi means the Mercury is precisely lined up with the sun from our perspective. That's the moment when Mercury is exactly between the sun and the earth. So I had a conversation a year-ish ago with um my goodness. Hang on one second. With Gary Caton, where we talked about Mercury retrograde, and I loved that conversation. I will link that conversation here. Highly recommend it to get a very positive, very beautiful perspective on what Mercury retrograde really is about. You know, it's not something we need to freak out over, right? So the way he talked about it in that video, and I just love this, is that what we can think of is that when Mercury actually comes in that space between the sun and the earth, it's like Mercury is entering a sacred temple, or something along those lines. It's a sacred space that it's entering, and Mercury becomes invisible to us because it's in the rays of the sun, and the sun is gigantic and Mercury is tiny. Right, but it's actually, when it's cazimi the sun, when it's conjunct the sun in between the sun and the earth, when it's going retrograde like that, it actually, Mercury is in the time when it's the closest it gets to the earth. So it's like this extra portal time. So anyway, so at this time of this new moon, that's also the day of this Mercury cazimi. Very, very, very special and magical and powerful. In addition, like really, really, really a big deal. The new moon is also, and Mercury opposite, Uranus. So actually Mercury and Uranus are almost exactly 1 degree. Anyway, Uranus is basically exactly opposite the new moon and Mercury at the time of the new moon. So if you imagine what's going on in the cosmos with that, when you look at the chart, the Earth is in the center because this is a Earth-centric way of looking at astrology. Okay, so imagine the Earth right here. Imagine then on one side of the Earth is Uranus over there. And imagine then on the other side of the Earth is the moon first, Mercury next, and then the sun. So if you could pan out and see the whole solar system, what you would see is this lineup: Uranus making a direct line to Earth, making a direct line to the moon, making a direct line to Mercury, and then to the sun. So imagine Uranus and the sun basically sandwiching Earth, Moon, Mercury. That is a powerful, extremely powerful lineup. Like what? And as I've talked about in previous videos, let me come out of this for 1 second. Again, if you think about this just astronomically and in terms of the science of these planets, right? Uranus, it rotates on its side, and its center of gravity is up toward one of its poles. So if you imagine, and from my understanding, actually, Uranus is also coming to one of its solstices. So it has an 84-year orbit around the sun. So that means that its seasons, if you want to call them that, are, what's 84 divided by 12? I mean, 84 divided by 4. 21 years long each. Okay. And right, so it's coming up to, my understanding is that it's coming up to one of its solstices, which means that its pole is pointing more toward the sun. And so if you imagine that, right, Uranus also is largely made of substance like crystalline, like diamond in its mantle. So imagine this being, Uranus, it rotates on its side compared to the Earth, which has a 23-degree angle tilt in relation to the sun. Uranus has, I can't remember the exact number of degrees, but it's close-ish to a 90-degree angle. So it's rotating on its side. It's pointing at the sun, and it's made of diamond and crystalline kind of structure in its body. Okay, so if you just think about that energetically, whoa, to have this being, Uranus, pointing right at the Earth here, the moon next, Mercury next, and then the sun. Whoa. It's very powerful. It feels to me like just direct communication, like direct alignment, direct energetic, you could say, activation. That's what it feels like. Very alive, like boom, that kind of an energy. That's how I feel it in my body, at least, thinking about it ahead of time. We'll see how we actually feel in the moment, but very, very, very powerful alignment. Okay. And then let me just finish with a couple other points about the actual chart. So the other big things going on astrologically in terms of the chart are this new moon, in addition to being opposite Uranus and conjunct Mercury, also is in a grand trine with Jupiter going retrograde at 25 degrees of Cancer. It will have just gone retrograde. Jupiter's actually going retrograde this coming Tuesday, November 11th. So that's actually, so as I'm making this video, Jupiter's actually stationing to go retrograde right now. And I'm going to come back to that in a second because there's something really cool about that. But yeah, and then Jupiter is trining, and the new moon is also trining Saturn going retrograde and Neptune going retrograde. Okay, but Saturn actually is stationing to go direct. Saturn will be going direct, I think it's November 24th-ish. So this month we have like a big shift of energies because yesterday yesterday, again, I'm recording this November 8th, so the evening of November 7th Pacific time, Uranus just re-entered Taurus. Tomorrow, Mercury is going retrograde. Tuesday, Jupiter is going retrograde. And then at the end of November, Saturn is going direct. So you feel that. It's like all this shifting energy. And yeah, now we also have Neptune sitting there at that 29-degree point of Pisces. At the time of this new moon, it's actually at 29-29, which I find really cool. And actually also Uranus 29-29 Taurus, like wow. And incidentally, this is kind of random, but when Uranus goes direct and the end of April, it will be I mean, sorry, not the end of April. It's going to re-enter Gemini at the end of April. When Uranus goes direct, it's going direct at 27-27 Taurus. It's like this funny little numbers stuff going on. Okay. Yeah. So what I feel overall in all of this, so many things. And I will come out of this to really be able to talk. So, okay. As lots of people are talking about, especially Kelly Kolodny, I would say, you know, she's doing that, her sacred womb journey, which many of you are part of. And she and I just had a recent conversation where we were partly talking about that. I also am absolutely feeling this time. I mean, it's just so beautiful and perfect. She's doing that right now, clearly. But I'm being guided also that this is a time of coming deep, coming inside, letting ourselves slow down, and to go into that womb space or chrysalis space, whatever that happens to be for you. Or not. I mean, if that's not what the energy you're feeling, great. No need to do any of that. And the reason this is so important, and I'll talk in a minute about why this new moon, I feel like, really is emphasizing this and really supporting us in this. But one of the many reasons this is so important to give ourselves this time to be still and quiet and go in that womb or chrysalis space is because, number one, it's important. But number two, because of what's coming. So yesterday, I held one of the circles I hold every month, and I channeled. And what happened to come through was so perfect. We weren't even talking about this new moon, but actually I realized afterward it is precisely in line with the energies of the new moon and of course all of just now, which is probably why it came through. But what came through was the spirit world guided us to either go down into the ground, like into the earth, or to imagine ourselves being in a chrysalis of some kind. So to be held one way or another in a kind of incubation kind of space. And then this was the really, really key part. So we're being held to imagine being, let's say, you know, the caterpillar who's gone into the chrysalis, who's then turned into the goop, etc. But what they said is, it's really not for everybody, I mean, again, if this doesn't resonate, great. But for a lot of people, just kind of on a collective level, December 19th is a very key date for whatever reason. And astrologically, I can think of a lot of reasons, but they are very, very clear with me that December 19th specifically, but just kind of that December timing is a time where, as Kelly Kolodny has been talking about, she talks about the December solstice as being the time when the new Earth baby is going to be born. I don't want to put words in her mouth. That's my understanding of the way she phrases it. The way that I'm being guided, almost identical, is that December 19th, and sure, I mean, I don't think it's like, again, I don't feel like it's that precise, but my guides are saying it's December 19th. Okay. Um, is when there's going to be an energetic to support us to step into being new Earth, as opposed to having ideas about that or like thoughts that we want, blah, 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 like dreams. Okay. They're saying it's December 19th, around that time, when, in a sense, you could say, if we've been gestating as the caterpillar who turns into the goop and then has time where we are forming the new butterfly that we are, it's really essentially December 19th when we will be supported, again, only in your own right timing, to emerge as the butterfly. So the key component and what this channeling yesterday was really supporting us to do is to take the time right now to not rush it. No rushing. No rushing. Just like the butterfly inside of a chrysalis, you know what happens, right? If you try to like open up the chrysalis early, doesn't work. This is the time right now, between now and that December 19th time, or whatever the timing is right for you. We have like 6 weeks between now and then. The way they said it in that channeling yesterday was like, we're at the point where we're maybe like 3/4 done with becoming the butterfly. So if you imagine, what they had us do is be held in that chrysalis space. And this is something you could just do on your own, right? Imagine being held in the chrysalis space and imagine the imaginal cells. So the caterpillar dissolves inside the chrysalis, and then the imaginal cells have that spark of divine light, divine intelligence, magic, and they know precisely, those imaginal cells know precisely what the new being is and how to form it. So they described, imagine, having the light, the intelligence of light, which really is a very Uranian thing. The intelligence of light know how to begin to form you, and is forming like up your spine, and then creating your whole center body, and then your arms and your legs and your antenna if you're a butterfly, and then the wings. And here the wings were like really, really beautiful and key. And so they said, but then, imagine you're still in the chrysalis. So you can feel those wings forming, but they're folded, right? We're inside the chrysalis still. And you can feel the strength, the confidence, the incredible ancient wisdom, and the beauty, the exquisiteness of those wings and of your whole being. And then what they did, and this is the key part, I think, they then had us be in that chrysalis womb space, feeling ourselves becoming this butterfly. And they said, take a moment and know that it's not time yet to emerge as the butterfly, right? But you know that time is coming in the not too distant future. So just take this moment and feel, okay, when you think about, okay, I'm not ready yet, but at some point I will be ready to emerge. What feelings arise? Like, is it elation? Is it excitement? Is there trepidation? Is there fear? Is there anxiety? Is there panic? Is there grief? Is there whatever it is? And maybe a whole combination of all of it. That's how I personally feel. um, uh, yeah, just let those feelings arise and be with it. And then what they said, this was really, again, really beautiful to me, was sometimes maybe those feelings are ready to leave. And also sometimes maybe those feelings need to be held, like your inner child, essentially, right? So you could imagine your inner child with those feelings, those fears or whatever, being held by you inside of that chrysalis as your wings are forming, as your body is forming, as your whole being is getting ready. To not reject that inner child and those feelings, right, to be with it. And actually the inner child maybe also has excitement. I mean, it's not necessarily that the inner child only is feeling negative things, right? It could be a whole host of things. So, um, and then they said also at the same time that you're holding that inner child, you can feel the incredible confidence, powerful wisdom of your wings and of your body and of yourself. Yeah. And they said, just please be with all of that consciously while you're in that womb space, while you're in the chrysalis, so that you give yourself the time. You really, really gift yourself with the fullness of what it is to be in the gestation period, right? Like we know when babies are born, right? If they've really gotten their full time in the womb, then they're robust and healthy, hopefully, and all that. Like my first child was 10 pounds, 8 ounces, like robust and healthy. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but yeah, no, I mean, okay. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, but we know this, right? Like, we need the time. We don't want to rush it. Do not want to rush it. So I really feel like now is about that. The energies of now are really supporting that. And this new moon is deeply emphasizing that. So I want to touch on that just a little more because given all of what I just said, I'm even thinking how this new moon chart tells that story so clearly. I'm just going to touch on it a tiny bit more here. Okay, so we think about new moon in Scorpio with Mercury being down in the deep, being held in the magic of the underworld, finding and even noticing the magical quality of those imaginal cells, right? The light in the dark that knows the way. And the dark that knows the way too. The chrysalis itself is incredibly magical and wise and nourishing. So, you know, I could go on and on and on, but Scorpio in its really healthiest expression is incredibly beautiful and healing. Okay, so that's like the being held in the chrysalis or down in the earth itself. That's that energy there. Then think about uh Jupiter just having gone retrograde in Cancer, trining that. You could say that's the inner child being held. Like, what are you feeling? What do you need? What arises? Are you scared to emerge as the butterfly of you? I am in certain ways. I mean, in my life, I'm absolutely being called into a whole different level, a whole different way of being with my own work and all of that, right? So, yeah, part of me is scared, definitely. Definitely. And excited and all these things. Okay. Then this is amazing, right? Think about Neptune conjunct Saturn, with Saturn about to go direct in Pisces. This, you could say, are those wings. The powerful wisdom of you, the confidence of you, that you know the way. Your wings know the way. They are your inner wisdom keeper. I mean, they know it. Got it, right? And this is in a grand trine with that new moon. And then opposite that, new moon is Uranus in Taurus. So really grounding us, helping us come back into the reality that we are earth. We are earth and light and dark and all of it all at the same time. Um and what's so key about this time period that we're in, now as of last night, now that Uranus is back in Taurus, which is a big shift, we now have Uranus back in Taurus. We have Saturn and Neptune both back in Pisces. Okay. So we have all of those three planets, those outer planets that are doing this kind of back and forth this year. They're all back now in their original sign. And so that's part of this energy of the gestation. And it's part of an energy of like a slowing down. And I would say a key part is that it's also an energy of remembering, like not forgetting, first of all, that we are source. So Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, we are source. And when we eventually do step out as the butterfly, we're coming from having been like steeping in the reality that we are source. Because Saturn and Neptune are about, early next year are going to be re-entering Aries and being conjunct in Aries, 0 degrees of Aries, on February 20th. But we want to have taken the time to deeply know that we are the divine before we act, right? And then Uranus having now re-entered Taurus as of last night, helping us remember we are Earth. So we're here to be new Earth because we're Earth. Again, I've said this so many times lately, but I think we forget we're Earth, we're our bodies, and being new Earth does not probably mean, hopefully, that we just float into light, right? That would be not being in our body, which for some people, maybe that's their role. But hopefully, most of us, we are here to be in our bodies while we are new Earth. Right. And so Uranus now having gone back into Taurus until April 26, 2026. Yeah, it's just like amazing timing that as we are in this moment where we are being guided to step into be new Earth around that December 19th solstice-ish time, that Uranus is in Taurus. That's so perfect, right? It's amazing. Yeah. So Uranus in Taurus opposite the new moon, lined up in that way that I was describing, is like, what? So good. So good. It's so beautiful. Okay, and I feel like there was one other part to this. Hang on. Okay, yes. So the last component I think of what I want to speak to is a little more on what I feel coming and how I'm being guided for the kind of the next phase of things. I will be doing soon a video on the astrology of 2026. So I'll say more about 2026 in general there. And I've also finished my astrology of 2026 guide, which is available. I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. Yes, but anyway, more to come about that soon. Yeah. So what I want to talk about here is just to say a little more, yeah, the kind of the first part of 2026. So like I was saying, the way that I'm being shown and the way I'm being guided, which seems to line up with lots of other people's, what's coming through various people. On December 5th, and if you haven't signed up, please sign up. I'm holding a free gathering with David Clements, John Ryan, Kelly Chladni, and Julia Belaz. and entirely free live, and it will be recorded. So definitely please join us. Definitely share it with anyone else you think might benefit. What that feels like to me is that gathering is meant to be some kind of key activation moment for those of us there live, but also just for the world or existence. I don't quite get it, but I can feel it. I can see the sacred geometry of it. And most of you are familiar with those people, the 4 people I'm going to be hosting it with. They each, of course, are in their own ways very, very, very magical, and it feels like, yeah, there's a sacred geometry clicking together, actually even already, that will be activated in that event. So yeah, and I don't know yet how or what or anything. We'll know in the moment, but I pretty much guarantee it's going to be amazing. Okay. And it feels like a key kind of switch moment energetically to support us to then move into the next phases of what's coming. So then the next date that my guides again are very, very clear, it's super important, December 19th. And they've been very clear about that for about a month. They said, you have to hold an event on December 19th, very precisely on that day, because what they have been saying is on that day, they want me to channel, for those of you who feel called to be there. I feel actually like it will ripple out to existence, even for people who aren't technically right there. But yeah, but basically I'm going to be channeling so that the spirit will be holding us to come into and find that spark of the divine self that we are. And essentially to be held in some way to ignite our own knowing of what is mine to do, what is yours to do as a being of new earth. So in a sense, I'm guessing, again, this is going to be channeled, so it's not my brain planning this, it's the spirit world telling me, showing me what they want to show me. And they haven't shown me, I won't know probably until I channel what's going to come through, but I rarely do. Yeah, but I'm just kind of guessing, right? Probably something along the lines of holding us to be that butterfly who's then emerging. I'm guessing. This is Martha guessing. But I can feel it. It's definitely going to be an ignition moment, an ignition point where each of our own souls will be guided on an energy body level to have the confidence of those wings, essentially, and to know what is mine to do next, what is yours to do next, and to step out and be it. Because then starting that December 19th date, for some reason, right? It's a threshold moment. That's what it feels like. It's a threshold moment that we then step into 2026, where there are so many powerful happenings in the first 3 months of 2026 and beyond. But that first 3 months feels really important. You know what? Actually, this is what it feels like. I thought of this analogy the other day. That December 19th point, or the solstice or whatever, feels like maybe the birth, right? Just like Kelly talking about, it's very, very similar in the way I'm being guided. But then that first 3 months of, that's what it is. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The first 3 months of 2026 are kind of like, you could equate it to the 4th trimester. Like, if people who are maybe parents or been around parenting a lot, or babies, there's this whole concept that, in attachment, really positive attachment, parenting, or supporting your baby to really develop a positive attachment style, that you need to think of that first 3 months after birth as kind of like a 4th trimester. And so one way that people advocate to to parent in those first 3 months. And no right or wrong. I mean, this happens to be the way I did parent both of my kids, but is, you hold them a lot, right? Like you maybe wear them in a front pack or a sling or a whatever, and you keep them close to your body and let them regulate. Again, no right or wrong. We don't need to argue about whether that's true or not. But anyway, that is kind of what I'm feeling, is like that first 3 months of 2026 is kind of like the baby needs to still be, now the baby has been born, but the baby still needs to be held a lot. Um, so so then by the time the baby is, more of like a 3-month-old or a 4-month-old, that's when the baby starts, well, 2 months is when the baby starts smiling, 3 months is when the baby starts laughing, right? So once you get to be a human baby is about 3 or 4 months old, they're more of a person, you could say. Like that's, I think, one of my favorite things on the planet is the first laugh of a baby. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah. Ah, yeah. So, yeah, good memories coming back about that. Anyway, um, right. So that's what that first 3 months of 2026 feels like, with really one after another, really powerful transits happening. So we have in January 7th, there's going to be a Mars Venus conjunction at 16 degrees of Capricorn, if I'm remembering that right. Then the end of January, Neptune will re-enter Aries. Then February 13th, Saturn will re-enter Aries. Then February 17th, huge date. That is a solar eclipse at the 28, 29, I think 29 Aquarius, which also is Chinese New Year. And as many of you told me, it's informed me, it's this new year will be the year of the horse, which is amazing, given, all the symbology of the unicorns and the Pegasus and Kelly Chladni's white horse, and just there's been all this horse stuff coming through in my channeling and apparently hers, and yeah. Um and and then March 3rd, 2026 is the lunar eclipse in Virgo. And then March 10th, Jupiter is going direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, which is exactly opposite where the Mars Venus conjunction is going to be happening in Capricorn on January 7th. Really interesting. And Jupiter will be going direct with the star Sirius, conjunct Sirius. Okay. So that's March 10th. Then March 16th, when Jupiter is still right with the star Sirius, will be the closest flyby of Three-Eye Atlas with Jupiter, as Three-Eye Atlas is exiting our solar system. So the closest flyby of Three-Eye Atlas with Jupiter will also be, well, Jupiter is conjunct Sirius. So, wow, that's, seriously a big deal. Oh my goodness. Aha. Right. And I forgot to mention the astrology of December 19th. Super significant. Super significant. And I didn't realize this when my guide said it's December 19th, you have to hold this thing. Okay, well, I realized later, oh my goodness, that date is the new moon at 28 degrees of Sagittarius, exactly conjunct the galactic center, and it's the date of the closest flyby of Three-Eye Atlas with the Earth. It's like, yeah, of course, this makes very much sense. Okay. So, so I really see this December 19th to March 16th time essentially as, you could call it, like the fourth trimester of the baby. And I'm just realizing this. That's amazing. Amazing. What? Wow. Or maybe what you could say is like Yeah, December 19th to March 16th, but it's also really solstice to equinox, kind of that period, right? Oh my goodness. I'm realizing this in the moment as I'm saying this. I'm like, okay, yeah. Um, right. So it's that whole season essentially that is the feels like the fourth trimester of the baby. And it happens to be accentuated by the three-eye atlas, closest flyby of the Earth, and then the closest flyby of Jupiter, which happens to also be with the star Sirius. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So you get it. Like this is wow. Right. And right now, before we get to that birth and then that fourth trimester time, getting chills. Um, we need to let the baby, us, ourselves, like really do the end part of the incubation fully, like really, really, really give ourselves that time. Okay. I think that made all my points. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Amazing. Even more amazing than I realized. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then for those of you who are interested, I'm going to talk a little now about I also just this past week got very clear, finally got clear directive on what I'm going to be holding in those first exactly those first 3 months of 2026. It's very related to what I was just talking about. So if you're interested, um, listen, I will tell you more. Yeah, so I'm super excited about this. Okay, so I am going to be I'm holding this free event December 5th. Then I'm holding an event on December 19th and very low cost. And I will put the links and everything here. Yeah, so for anybody who signs up for the December 19th event, you will also receive the full Astrology of 2026 guide. And actually, I have a free version as well. So you could sign up just for the free version. It has um, the top five themes of 2026 astrologically that I see. And then the full version has the top 16 themes, which includes like some of the asteroids and Kuiper Belt beings and things like that. And the full version comes with my extremely detailed, if you are, really into astrology, I have a second document that I give you, which has like all the transits of 2026, like all the planets and all the asteroids that I work with and all the Kuiper Belt beings that I work with and Lelia Kuhanua and Sedna and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so like very, very, very detailed for those of you who are really into this stuff. But for those of you who just want the pretty nice, easy to digest version, the full guide comes with the 16 top themes and it has pretty pictures and all that. Okay, so the full version comes with, if you sign up for the December 19th event that I just was describing, where I'm going to channel, we're going to activate to step out as that butterfly. Okay, and find what is mine to do as New Earth. Then, super excited about this. Starting January 7th, which happens, I didn't realize, but happens to be the date of that Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn. From January 7th to March 25th. So covering that whole set of transits I just mentioned, including the eclipses, etc. What the spirit world is guiding me to do, so looking forward to this, is I will be holding a 3-month, what they're calling New Earth Sacred Leadership Activation Journey. So what this is, I don't want to call it a course. It's a journey, a sacred journey. Similar-ish to, for those of you who did my eclipse journey just this past September, there were a lot of you who joined me for that, and it was very amazing to be with all of you. This journey, so that was like a 5-6 week thing. This will be a 3-month version. Also kind of a follow-up from that eclipse journey I just did in September, because this will include the eclipses of 2020, early 2026. But in addition, we'll be meeting mm, a total of 8 times as a full group in those 3 months, once a month in January and February, and then twice in March. I will be channeling. I can feel the energy meant to come through. Very powerful, very powerful. Really, what essentially the purpose will be is the spirit world is going to be helping us to deeply ground in with the reality that we are New Earth. So again, sort of like that feeling of being in that fourth trimester, still being held, right? It's like, yes, you are now, we're born, and probably still need to be held a bit and given lots and lots of deep nourishment and these magical activations of whatever's meant to come through the spirit world for us in that time, and to really feel it, really get it, that we are New Earth. Each of us in our own ways, we are sacred leaders. Each of us in our own ways. That doesn't necessarily mean any one thing, right? It doesn't mean any particular one thing. We're leaders. We're sacred heart-led leaders. Whatever it is we're doing, doesn't need to be like you're up on a stage doing blah 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 blah. It can be like literally you're being in your heart, being an ambassador of love in the grocery store. It can be anything. But to really fully feel it, that the confidence of those wings, the confidence, the knowing of our heart as this jewel, right? That is, yeah, anyway. So I can just feel, even as I'm talking right now, a lot of these energies kind of starting to come percolate. So really, basically, the spirit world wants this to be a container, a very safe, held container for that fourth trimester. That's the way to sum it up. And yeah, so there's going to be one option where you can sign up just for those 8 full group gatherings, where once a month in January and once a month in February and twice in March, I will be channeling, and then also once a month. In each of those months, we will have a group sharing time, and also kind of like a bonus, because this was a request by one of you in the channeling course. Also, in the beginning of February, included in this journey, on February 4th, one of the gatherings, one of those 8 full group gatherings, is going to be, I will hold basically like a workshop. I don't know if I want to call it a workshop. Anyway, I will hold a time where I'm going to teach the basics of how to hold sacred circles, because I think a lot of you seem to be wanting to hold sacred circles, but you're not sure how, or various things come up when trying to. So, and that's optional. Like, not everybody is feeling called to hold circles, but that was a kind of common request recently. So, or a very popular request. And I was thinking about, how do I feel called? I would love to support you in doing that. How do I want to do that? So I just decided to just include it as part of these gatherings, and in this journey. And yeah, and people who are in the journey, either you can come to the one on February 4th and learn how to hold sacred circles, or not. It doesn't have to be part of what you do. But I decided to just sort of throw it in there as a bonus for people who are wanting to do that. Because again, I would love to support that, because I think that's a big part of, yeah, how we can be these ambassadors of love and the sacred leaders. Is we need to learn literal leadership skills, right? And facilitation skills, which isn't necessarily, yeah, innate. And yeah, I have a lot of experience doing that, and happy to share that. Okay. And then the other option is so people can join just those full group gatherings, which will be live and recorded, and da da da, and there's sliding scale options and all that. Or you can join those, plus I will have a limited number of small sharing circles similar to, again, how I did in the eclipse journey and also the how to channel journey. Those circles were very popular. I loved doing them. And so in this journey, I do have the option for you to join the small sharing circles. I'm going to limit those circles to 8 people each for each circle. Those circles will meet once a month, so a total of 3 times. And currently I've started out with 2 small circle options. I have a guess they're going to fill really quickly. Once they fill, I can add a few more possibly, but I want yeah, if you want to be part of a small circle option, I definitely recommend signing up for those sooner rather than later. So what we're going to do in the small circles is in the one in January, I will look at your chart for the year ahead, like the astrology of 2026. Not a full reading, not a full reading, but like, 5-minute, just kind of touching into the main themes for each person in the small circle to give a kind of a boost and, how you're, and to be able to hear from you how you're feeling called and what that feeling like for you to step in as the butterfly that's you. Or what are you kind of feeling the need for in that 4th trimester feeling? Yeah, so that's January. We'll look at the year ahead. February, we'll look at the astrology of the eclipse season for you. And then March in the small circle, we'll kind of wrap up and, look at what, or just hear from you, whatever is, yeah, we'll support you in the ways that are needed by then. Yes, so I'll put the link to sign up for that as well. Oh, and if you sign up for that full journey, the January to March one, I'm also just going to include the December 19th one. You don't need to pay twice. In other words, if you want to do the full journey, great, sign up for that. And the December 19th will just be included in that for you, along with the full astrology of 2026 guide. Yeah. So if you want all of it, just sign up for the journey and you'll get all of it. But if you only want to sign up for the December 19th thing, or you're not sure if you want to do the journey, then sign up for the December 19th thing and you'll get the guide immediately. Yeah, because it's ready. And if you just want the guide, just sign up for the December 19th thing because you can choose the price of the guide would be $25, and that's the lowest end of the December 19th gathering. So just pay $25 for that and you'll get the guide. Okay. I think that's a lot of talking, so I will stop there. Yeah, but very beautiful, really, I think, yeah, just amazing times we're in. And yeah, thank you so much for being here and doing it with me and doing it with each other. And we're all doing it together. I mean, literally. So, um, okay. Yeah. And definitely at the very least, please sign up for the December 5th event. And between now and December, highly, 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 highly recommend just listen to your body. Like your body knows if you need to go in, if you want to go out, if you want to do both, if you want to, yeah, whatever it is. But if you're feeling the need for that gestation time, that's what's being supported. Big, big, big time. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you can find all of what I just described at livingtheonelight.com. In addition, also the free community, the free app, da, 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 da. Okay, all the things. All right. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.